the Eps and Dad podcast with T-Bark and Blackie Chad. Serving the realness, don't make them mad. Nah, say how you feel. Communicate freely, that's how you build. Word.
Yeah. Eps and Dad podcast. Yes, sirs. I'm Blackie Chad.
Hey, it's T-Bark. T-Bark, you already know.
Yeah, last week it was 4.
Yeah, okay, it's 3. But we good. We back now.
Yeah, let's cut to the chase.
Right.
So I would like to say that I don't know everything. I don't want to pretend like I know everything. I only can speak from my perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be biased over just my life. Because after a while, people who don't have the same life I have, it becomes a fairy tale. So I felt like it was important, as well as you, to bring other people who have a little bit more expertise in certain fields that we don't have.
Yes, sir. And who do we have here? To my left, to your right?
Tiara. She can
introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself.
Let us know where you from. Nah, you ain't gotta do that. But
just let us know your name and what you do.
Yeah, what you do.
All right, so I'm Tiara Johnson. So I am a clinician, drug and alcohol counselor clinician, and I am also a case manager for Philadelphia Drug Court.
Nice. So if you don't know, the importance of that and the relatively of that is today's episode is custody awareness, and something we want to touch on, and we'll touch on a lot of things underneath that, and focus on some substance abuse, some custody information,
right?
Different scenarios. We got some questions. We need some answers.
For sure.
We need what to do if this happens.
The what ifs.
Right.
Yeah,
I got you.
This episode, we want to give the people as much information as possible, so they can get out there and they can okay, because I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people going through certain things.
Yeah.
They may this week I'm talking to Chad and he giving me stuff. I'm like, I got to do that.
Right.
You gotta go do that
for sure.
Hold on, I don't even. Oh my god. So I'm in the dark. So
right.
I'm also here to learn too as well. So it's not just us giving us our scenarios, our situation, our opinions, what we would do. This is what you really, really should do if you're in one of these situations. Yeah,
right.
So can I start the first question with custody?
Sure.
Okay.
So this is the first question, right? I know about the birds and the bees. So you have a penis, and then you have a vagina. The penis goes into the vagina, and it ejaculates this thing called semen, right? So
correct.
You need the man to be here, and then you need the woman to be here who has the moisture and everything that goes into it, right? Okay. After the guy ejaculates, sperm comes out and disperses into the woman's vagina, and it catches her eggs and babies come, right?
Correct.
So it takes 2 to tango.
Correct.
My question is, why does it seem like women have more of an importance or a power in a child's life? Like whether what he can do or what he can't do. It just seems like men have to just play by the role of the second guy, the bench player.
So when it comes to custody, which brings back to our topic, society has painted this picture like when mom and dad is going through whatever they're going through, that automatically it's for the best benefit of the kid to go with mom.
Okay.
And for a long time, that was the picture that was painted. However, now the legal system is now trying to move away from that. They're trying to look at the bigger picture to see what would be the best benefits for that kid.
Okay.
What parent is going to be able to give, be nurturing, can financially, emotionally be able to support that child. So we're trying to come around from just automatically giving a kid custody, to their mother.
Okay.
We're looking at both parties and how both parties play and interact with each other, because that's a very important. Mm-hmm. If mom and dad gets along, do mom and dad argue and fight in front of the kid? Mm-hmm. Which parent party, works and has stability? Is the home safe? Mm-hmm. How far is it for that child to get to school? So all of those different areas play a part in the decision of who's going to get full custody, or the child's going to be physically be placed with them. Okay. We're trying to come from that, move away from that, always placing the kid with mom.
So what steps do you think you guys are moving towards right now to make that, to move the steps along?
Well, I believe that it depends. I believe that dads can't just give up easily. I feel like I'm not a parent, so I only can relate but so much. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of times moms will use certain things over the father's head, and he just automatically gives up. Okay. At the end of the day, we have to remove our personal, feelings from the equation and look at what is best for this child or children. So it's possible. But a lot of times they be like, they're afraid to go down to, file for custody because of child support and things like that. But where there's a will, there's a way. I've seen plenty of people I've assisted with, men who have gotten custody of their children. A friend of mine, I just assisted him, and he has custody of his 3 children right now. So it's possible.
So now I heard you say child support and then custody. All right, so if you split custody, is there a way that you can get on child support?
So it depends on the courts, okay? So both parties have joint custody of the child, all right? Both parties are responsible to support that child. Mm-hmm. So when you go in front of the judge and you are doing your custody agreement, it's put in there who's going to do what. So, maybe kid will be with, you every other weekend, and then you and mom a split holidays. Mm-hmm. But it's your job to take care of your kid. Mm-hmm. But it depends on the situation. Everybody's case is different. It's different by case. So you may not be ordered to pay child support to mom if y'all have joint custody. It just depends on the case, and it depends on the decision of the judge.
So a lot of the times I hear a lot of guys from the people I was talking to throughout the week, because I don't go through these things, is that women decide to get like vindictive, petty, catty, and we can't compete with that as far as like a woman to go down there and say all of this stuff, and us as guys are a little bit more reserved, and we get to court and are bamboozled by what they're saying, whether it's a lie or not, and we're not prepared for whatever they have going. So what proper precautions can guys have to be prepared when they go down there to make their stories more valid and make it more helpful for them to get a fair trial or a fair opportunity?
They look good in front of a judge?
Exactly.
So the best way that I always tell everyone with being prepared in any situation where you're bombarded, okay? We don't know what exactly this individual have went down to the courts and said. We don't know. However, evidence is what the judge looks at. They're not just going to look at what she's saying about you. They're going to look at the evidence. So if you have an individual who's disrespecting his child's mother, he's cursing her out, he's sending his new girlfriend, she's posting things on social media, because we do pull from that. Okay. Then you're helping her build her case. Okay. Now, if the tables are turned and you're trying to, assist, I always tell people, keep receipts. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's sad. If you feel like your child's mother will do that to you, I'm a type of person, I don't put nothing past anybody. Just, when you arguing with her, be mindful of the things that you're arguing about. Be mindful of the things that you send her and say to her, because you don't want anything that's going to hurt you in case you have to go in front of the judge. So if you bought, your daughter a pair of sneakers and stuff like that, and she just asked you, well, she has, dance recital and the tickets is X, Y, and Z for a uniform. Okay, well, what do you have? Are we going half on this, or am I paying for this, myself in full? And then you can constantly, as simple as it is, take your phone out and send her a text and be like, hey, I cashed out you X amount of dollars for her uniform. And you keep track of that. Your conversations, you want to log that also, because you want to protect yourself at all costs. Also, what we have to do is remove outsiders from what's going on in the inside. So that means if you moved on and y'all both have, new mates, be mindful of not allowing that mate to just say what they want. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because it's between mom and dad. You got to remove that, because I've seen a lot of cases where dad's girlfriend, done cursed mom out or did something, and then mom got evidence and she brings it up in court. And that's helping build her case too.
So when you come to court and it's basically he say, she say. So how do you guys validate information? Well, you saying his baby mom is or his girlfriend is saying this and her baby dad or new boyfriend is saying this. How do you guys validate that? Because
well, of course,
do y'all do research evidence. Or what?
Yeah, of
so
course.
What type of evidence?
So if her new boyfriend is being disrespectful to you and he done posted something on your social media or something like that, it's just as simple as screenshotting it or sending it.
Okay.
You do the same thing if I would copy your emails and you just print that out and you present that to your attorney or your worker that's on your case, and they build a case with it. And the judge will review it. I've seen it happen numerous times. I've helped family members in situations like this.
So do they like file? I don't know the terms of like file a judgment, or do they make a decision right then and there, or you got to come back? Because if the judge looking at the information right then and there, do they make a decision? They go back to chambers, or you come back in 3 months and they tell you to
Sometimes they'll go into chambers, or sometimes the judge will have the information right in front of him, and he or she will sit there quietly and they'll review everything. Okay. And if something's questionable, they'll ask right then and there why they have both parties in the courtroom.
Okay.
Quick question, yeah. So now, custody and all that. How do you tell who gets, like, what major factors are involved in telling which parent gets custody, or, who's going to be the sole
guardian of the kid?
Yeah. Hold, all right. Before you say that, I'm sorry. What is the sole? What is it? Custody. Break that down first. Remember that question, T-Bird, because I don't know what all of those are.
All right. So we have physical custody. We have shared. So that means that 50-50. Him and her. Okay. Well, I don't like to say him or her because we do have same-sex couples also that are in custody too. So both parties share the custody of the child. Okay. Then you have primary, which means that whoever is granted primary custody, that means that the child, it's between majority versus partial. So the kid is with this parent A majority of the time, and then they're with parent B partially of the time. Then we have partial, which means basically they spend less than majority of the time with the parent. Okay. Then we have supervised custody, which means that has to be court ordered. The judge has to hear both sides of the party and determine whether or not maybe this parent A may not be fit. So say if parent A was driving, parent A gets high, okay, he or she uses substances and around with the kid. Parent B may bring that up in court. We may have evidence of that also. So the judge may say, well, you're endangering a kid. So they'll have different agencies such as DHS workers, COA, and they'll bring the kid to a certain location and they'll supervise that visit with that parent with the kid. Okay. And they'll take notes with different things. They'll take notes of, how the kid interacts with that parent, how the parent interacts with that kid. We've had different cases where a parent will just completely ignore the kid. They're on their phone. These are different things that they are watching and they're noting. Because it's important. We want to know your interaction with your kid. Because sooner or later, you're going to come back in front of the judge, and the judge has to make a decision about whether or not we're going to do partial custody, shared custody, or full-blown legal custody where, it's primary, where that parent A has physical custody over that child.
Okay. So, T-Bart, back to your question. What was that question again?
So you don't remember it? No. So, like, what factors do, I guess, the judge...
we look at...
Yeah,
okay.
To tell, like, who would, get...
Who gets it? All right. So, this is a question that I'm asked all the time. So, we look at what is the best interest of the child. We look at whether or not there has been any abuse, past or present. So, say if parent A has a history of abusing their mate, and mom knows about it, or mom or dad knows about it, and they bring it up. They look at, those circumstances. We look at stability. So we may do housing checks. Who does this parent live with? Who lives in that household? We'll even do background checks on the members in that household. We don't want anybody that's in that household that, may have felony, or God forbid, sexual abuse. So we look at all those things. We look at the closeness of how parent A house and parent B's house. How far? Because we don't want you traveling darn near to another state to drop off the kid or pick up the kid. So we look at that. The education. Income plays a part too. Because if you're a type of person and you work all the time, who is the extended family that's going to supervise that child when you're always at work? So that plays a part. Do you have, a setup? So you'll see most moms and stuff like that, they work during the day while the kid is in school. If their job is, they don't get off until after the kid is out, they'll pay for like aftercare, and they'll set different things up. So like grandma may be in charge of picking up Anna from school. You get what I'm saying? And so they want to make sure that is consistent. So those are the type of things that they look at when it comes to making that decision on whether or not who gets custody. And many times if both parties come in there and they can come to some type of agreement, the judge will grant it 50-50. I've had cases where, like I said, dad'll get every other weekend and then they'll rotate holidays every year.
Okay. Yeah. So we got another one, Chad.
Thank you, sir. Is primary legal custody considered full custody? We kind of answered that a little bit.
So, yeah. So, primary custody, when we talk about primary custody, it means that it's basically you have majority and partial. So, I mentioned that. So, say if we have an agreement, parent A, the child spend a night and live in that house. That kid is with that parent Monday through Friday, but then they're with partial parent every other weekend and then rotating holidays. That would be an example of primary versus partial, which is a primary custody.
Got you. So
majority versus partial.
So with that majority and partial, say does the primary have to get the okay from the partial to, say she or whatever, parent A, I don't want to say he and she,
right,
gets a new job in North Dakota and she wants to move. Does she have to get the, or do a parent
permission?
A have to get permission from the partial?
All right, so that's a good question because someone always thinks that. Okay, so it's relocation. So I want people to understand that if a judge does an agreement and I have majority custody and you have partial custody, and I get a job in North Dakota, I can't just take Anna and just go to North Dakota. What ends up happening is you have to write a petition to the courts. You have to notify the parent, the other parent, and the courts at least 60 days prior to your date of relocating. And that way we come up with a whole nother agreement.
And how fast does that agreement take if you take 60 days?
Well, that's why you're supposed to notify the courts at least 60 days. So within that, it depends. I mean, family court has a lot of cases that's coming through their courts. So I would recommend, if I know that I have to relocate in December, I'm going to go ahead and expedite that petition to the courts and my maid.
Pretty much as soon as possible.
My child's father. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So now, what if you have, what is it, the supervised visits, and you get the same situation?
So with supervised visits, so I'm in North Dakota and dad has supervised visits.
Yeah, no, are you both in the same location and then you get relocated and you pretty much have primary
majority custody of the kid. So what ends up happening is that's why we have a new petition drawn and we revisit the situation. So in that case, it may say that the kid will be with me majority of the time, and then depending on the results of those supervised visits, they may just give dad, I'm just using me as an example, but give dad partial custody. And then what ends up happening is maybe we'll come to an agreement where the kid will go with him for the summer.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if this is true. That's why I'm just going off of what I hear because you can set me straight. When you have a baby, do you automatically get custody of your kid?
No. You have to go down to the courts and you have to pay and file for custody of your kid.
So who is the legal, I mean, not the legal guardian, but does that make you property of the state or the city, or how does that work?
You're property of the state.
So, I mean, so with you being a parent and not having custody of your kid and nobody has custody of the kid, what is the state allowed to do with their kid? Does anything change? Is it something that people should go do, or you don't really need to do it since you share the same last name or whatever? I don't know.
It depends. I think it depends on your situation. And we all should, I'm not going to say no, but we all should know who we're laying down and having kids with.
Right.
So this is a conversation.
Right.
This is a conversation that you have to have.
Right.
So if in between my 8 months of carrying this kid and I realize that we're not going to work out, then we need to have that conversation and we need to revisit this situation. And if you and I can't come to some type of agreement, then we need to get the middleman in there in the middle to try to come up with some type of agreement with us.
No, I'm speaking on anybody, because sometimes you could be in a relationship like with somebody you happily married with and have a baby, and neither one of you have it.
Right.
I'm just talking for the ignorant, like, because I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so even if we don't have a disagreement,
So what many people recommend is that when you do have a kid, you go down there. And I mean, if you and dad or, well, moms are on good terms, then you both go down there and you file for joint custody.
okay, all right.
Especially if y'all not beefing or anything like that. It's like, okay, well, we figured out we're not working out, so let's do joint custody.
Now, you say we should go down there. Is this free? Cause
No, it's not.
So like, what's the like? Is it? Do I need it? Like, is it pros and cons?
Yeah,
like, do I not need it?
What's like the
I don't-
biggest
you know-
pro about getting custody through the state?
I should have asked my mama, do she have custody? Did she go and file custody for me,
'cause,
which they had me?
You know, I probably belong to the state of California and I don't even know it. You know what I mean?
I mean, most people don't feel like they need to go down there and get the legal system into their business until it's needed.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? What I do want is I don't want men to be watching this and think that like they don't have a chance and that they should just give up and just buy down to the mom because, you know, she's holding a bunch of things over their head. I say all the time, if moms are not allowing you to have a relationship with your kid and things like that, then you need to be mad and you need to fight for your child and go down there and file for custody.
So if we're in a happy relationship, after we have our baby, we should just go down there and say we just getting partial custody or split custody, even though we're still in the same house, just so that way if anything doesn't work out, we both on the same page.
Right. But then I also want you to keep in mind that if you write a petition, get a petition drawn up in 2018 and we break up in 2022, that petition, we might have to go and draw up a new one.
Okay.
You know, so things happen. It's the same thing in divorce.
Right. Yeah.
People get married. People don't go down there and file for custody of their kids. But in divorce, that's the first thing that's on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where's the kids living? Who's getting the kids?
Okay.
But I will say this. Depending on the child's age, the judge will also ask the child who would they feel more comfortable with living with.
That's not fair.
And
They would.
what's the age though that they start that?
Yeah.
That I can't say.
Yeah, that's not fair.
But
my daughter's
if-
gonna say mommy all the time. 10 times out of 10, maybe not.
But you're a good dad.
Yeah,
So
but she's
I mean,
still
you got a
like-
lot of evidence out here that
Yeah.
you take care of your kids. So
But still, she
you
was
have
still saying,
something to
"Mommy,
hold for
I
yourself.
forgot that.
That's your foundation. So you'll be good.
Sometimes in some situations you have a parent that's like a deadbeat, not absent dad, but like a deadbeat. Don't want anything to do with the kid and never wanted to be around the kid. What precautions or what steps can you take to get a person to sign over their rights even if they don't want to?
Well, it's two different things because there are some parents where they will sign over their rights. You know, I mean, if somebody don't want to bluntly take care of their kid, they may say sign over their rights. I've seen that happen.
So what do sign over your rights do? That means
you're giving up your rights, all rights of parenting this kid. There's been times where like mom has moved on and got remarried, and stepdad wants to adopt that kid, and biological dad will sign over his rights to him, and then he will legally adopt him. So or she. So that has happened too. As far as getting your parenting rights revoked, because that's the difference of signing over your rights and getting them revoked. You have to go through a lot of different things. You have to just be bluntly not doing what the judge is asking you to do. And if they're not, then yes, they can revoke your parental rights.
So let's say I don't want to take care of my kids no more. I could just go down there and sign a paper, just hand it in, and just like I graduated, or do I have to get it signed by the mother also? Does it have to be an agreement?
I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know.
Okay. Because I mean, like it would be a lot of dads who don't want their kids to just sign it over and just be out
Well,
of
then
there.
they need to wrap it up.
Okay, cool.
I agree, but there's also instances where mothers don't want the kid and they can give them to like a fire department, right? Or
Yes, it's called a safe haven. So
they
we can give them to
and
the
be like,
hospital.
so what are your thoughts on a woman being able to just go ahead and step back from a situation?
Well, there's been plenty of women that say that I don't want a mother
I know,
anymore.
but for a man to do it, like he is like, there's no, or
Just-
is there? Can a man just go down there like, I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want to. Like if she goes and puts him on child support, and he be like, I don't want nothing to do with it. Like, why am I on child support?
That is a discussion that will be during their court hearing, and then that results of that will be based on what the judge decides.
So the judge decides that he does have to pay child support, and he's like, I don't want to, and I don't want nothing to do with the child.
That's all depends on the decision of the judge.
Okay.
Now, if that judge had put in that order that he's on child support, then I mean he can appeal it. It's the same way that we that there's been situations where like mom said that, you know, John is her baby father, and then we do DNA and he's not, and he's been paying child support for that kid.
She got to pay that back.
Oh, I think a lot of them be hitting them back for that money.
Because I need that back.
Yeah, so my thing is, I just like a lot of times women know who's the dad, right, and won't disclose it, or sometimes they don't. I've seen Mari cases where people just keep coming back. But my point is, sometimes women will know who the father is and choose another person.
Man.
And then they're just because he might be a better guy, might be better, might like him more. And
Got a better job. He got more stability.
Exactly. So I'm saying that because a guy emailed me and said this happened to him. And when he found out the kid was 10, he didn't know. But when he found out the kid was 10, he was ordered to back pay from the time when he was first born all the way till he was 18.
And if I was him, I would have got me the top-notch lawyer to fight that.
So
You're talking about an individual who deliberately laid down with him, had a kid, seen on that other side, was like, ooh, that looks good. I want that now. And had this other man taking care of this kid for 10 years. And now he don't want nothing to do with her. And now she wants to go back to the biological dad for him to take care of this kid. Nah, I would have been getting a top-notch lawyer.
So I mean, what can happen? Can she go to jail for life, or is like she have to pay something? Like, what is the real like? What's the real like
consequence?
Exactly, took the word right out of my mouth. What's the real consequence for somebody who does that?
I really
That's like
can't.
lying about a murder or like.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised at some of the cases that I've done had. Honestly, I really can't answer that because, like I said, it's by case, and it depends on that judge and
But
what
have you
kind of
seen happen?
judge.
Like, what consequences have you seen happen? Like the least and then the worst.
The worst that I've seen is a woman lied about dad sexually abusing their 2 daughters. Dad went to jail, and he was brought down into the court hearing. And it came out that she lied about him sexually abusing the kids because he had moved on. And we happened to have a female judge this day, and she was not happy at all. She was, she snapped out, but and she was explaining like this is an issue that has been going on with women lying about their age, and just lying, to try to make themselves look good. But I can say that there really wasn't too much of a the consequence for her was that we gave the kids to kinship, and then dad started getting visits.
So what is kinship?
Kinship care is when a family member takes the child.
Okay.
So like something happens to me and I have a kid, dad is nowhere to be found. They'll ask, my mom to take the children.
So what happens to the mom? The mom just doesn't have the rights to the kids anymore, or what?
No, so like it depends on the situation. So say if mom is abusing drugs, she's nowhere to be found. Dad happens to go to jail, and grandmom applies and files for kinship. Once we do the, application, inspection. Sometimes we make well, not sometimes, we do make families go through like a little parenting classes and things like that. We want to know how much money. Oh, they investigate now, because we've had so many cases where people wanted to take custody of, like, temporary custody of kids, and it's all about money. So we want to know what's in your bank account. We want to know how much you make, because we want to know before we write you this check for this kid that you make enough yourself to be able to take care of your household and everything else. So we do check financial and stuff, and then we do inspections. When I first got out of college, that's what I was in charge of, going to the homes to inspect them and do the application work with the families who wanted to take kids into their home for temporary custody.
So when you go to the house or the home or the apartment or whatever, what are you looking for?
What we looking for? I knew you was gonna ask me that. Running water.
4 doors.
4 doors. Oh no! Let me tell you, you have to have doors. I did an inspection, and none of the bedrooms had doors. So we look for that. Locks. If we're putting younger children, do you have electrical wires are not visible, running water, hot, cold. We also make sure that you don't have pest control too much. We don't want to place kids where, they're at risk. The neighborhood, not so much too much about the neighborhood, but mostly everything is within the house. Everything that's going on in the house. We look at those.
So is that...
Oh, and who's in the house, by the way.
So... is that a lot of pressure for you to be able to, you kind of have the power to give a good report or bad report to somebody to help them get their kids, or whether it's for the, like, it's a lot of power in your hands. How do you
let me say this. I don't no longer work in family court. I was promoted to drug court. Okay?
Congratulations.
Thank
Shout out to
you.
for that.
So I do that now.
Okay.
But I used to have to be in charge of writing the reports that went to the judge. And so you have moments where you have moms and stuff that are struggling with addiction, because my specialty is drug and alcohol and mental health. And so it's very hard. I'm not a mom, so I don't know what it feels like, but I have to put my feet in their shoes and be like, well, how would I have felt if someone stripped me from my mom? But I have to remove how I feel about that at that moment and think about what's going to be best for this kid. We never want to place a kid, take a kid out of a situation and put them in a more harmful and toxic situation. But I can't sleep at night knowing that this kid is still at home with this family and mom and dad is getting high and no one is taking care of this kid.
Okay. So because I know we got to move on to what your elevation in the business. So what, like, for people that get more information on what they need to know, like, so what to go to court with, how they should go about getting custody, how they should prove things, or how to be prepared to go to custody, whether it's a woman, a male, grandparent, what should they do? Or is it a number? Is it a book? Is it a website?
Any information for them. Just
All right.
Better prepared. So
when you're going down to court, if you're in Philadelphia, family court is where you go. So that's at 1501 Arch Street. Okay. Custody is on the 11th floor. Okay. So if you're filing for custody, you have to fill out the petition application form. You have to make sure that you have parent B's full information, first and last name, an address, and social security.
Sometimes you got these one-nighters. So what happens if you don't know the information?
Oh, Jesus.
Really? Social security number.
Well, if you don't, we can always find that information out. But say if, you move with your new girlfriend and I have no idea what that address is, but I know where your mama live, then I'll go by there, copy the address, and then make sure that when I go down there with the petition, I do.
So y'all have a database that y'all can go in and be like, last known address, 7 years.
We can search through your insurance and stuff like that. Yes.
Okay. All right.
You also want to bring with you any type of abuse, stay away orders. So say if mom got a restraining order against dad, or dad has a restraining order against mom and he wants to file for custody. When I say custody, it doesn't mean if you want partial or majority, it doesn't matter. You want to bring that order with you. And that's about it. And you have to pay for it. Okay. Now what's
the price tag on this?
All right, so the price is hold on. It's 103 for the petition. Now, if you wanted emergency, so let's say
you said $103 to claim your own kid.
Yeah, $103. I said that. And if you wanted emergency, you have to pay 103 plus $44. Okay.
What's the benefit of
for the
emergency?
Yeah. So emergency, and it has to be an emergency case because you do not want the judge to get on you. But an emergency situation is you came, your kid called you, you come home, mom's not there, they've been left in the house. There's no food, there's no lights. That is an emergency situation.
Okay. So dad comes and sees the situation. That's emergency. Okay.
Yes.
So you don't call the cops first to get a proof?
Of course you will.
So you get proof? Like, I'm just saying, like, if I come home and I just see the whole house of
you can call the police and they can get involved. Of course, they're going to contact social services, but you now want custody. So you can either work with your social worker on the case, or you can come down to family court and you can file the petition for the custody.
No, and I was just only saying that because, like, you kind of want proof when you go down there. But if you do call the cops, they'll get social services involved. And then
we got smartphones. Take pictures.
Okay.
I've had cases where they've had pictures of, these houses of what, how mom is living, so yeah.
If, let's just say, I mean, sometimes we can be having like overdrafts. I've been overdrafted a lot in these recent years. Like, if you don't have the money, is there something they can put you on a payment plan?
So there is a program called IFP, and it's a financial program to assist families who cannot pay the money to file the petition.
Now,
there is financial support.
Now we in the time crunch, so we want to like get this situation rectified as soon as possible. So I don't have the 103 plus the $44. I need to go through IFP. How long does it take for IFP to get involved?
That I can't answer. I'm sure if it's an emergency situation, they're going to get involved as soon as possible.
T-Bart?
Yeah, no.
Do you think that I only got like 2 more questions for custody? Do you think that it's proactive to go down there, or should people want to work it out and handle it amongst themselves? Because they're in your business, they want to know where you live at.
Right, I'm a true believer that that's like I said earlier, the 2 individuals need to have that conversation.
Okay.
So if you're in a good situation, there's no beef. You don't necessarily got to go.
No, I wouldn't recommend. Why am I paying you my money?
You kind of like,
He's asking because he's so scared of Chessup. Like, he's so scared of child support. Like, I'm
petrified of Chessup. Because listen, all right, a little personal. Like, my dad worked hard. You know what I mean? And he may bring say 2,000. Home every 2 weeks. Just a number.
Right.
And you see 1,000 go to Chessup. Yo, you talking about
Well,
people not even in your household eating better than you. You know
right.
What I mean?
So what ends up happening? We need to understand this. Child support is to support the child. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if mom's income is going to tuition and bills and stuff, and she gets that child support, and her money covers everything for your kid, then that child support is extra for her to take care of everything in the house. Because your kids still need lights. Your kids still need running waters.
Your child support is
what
for
I'm
the
saying
kids.
is
frees her up more money to take
no.
Yes.
What I'm saying is if her income is paying tuition and everything. Say if she has automatic payments, the baby's tuition is coming out her account and everything, then that's what's supporting it. You got to understand, child support is not just to put, little John and B-ball, play football or whatever not. It's also, we have the lights and his shoes and tuition and food.
Okay. Tuition, food, shoes. The lights, no, because you need those lights whether John was in the house or not. So what are you talking about? Like, my child support is not for anything that doesn't have to do with that child.
Child support is for the child, not for mom to get her nails and everything else.
Okay, or pay her bills.
I got a question. Yes. It's a good question. Why does a parent still have to pay child support if custody is 50-50, legal and physical custody?
Let me see. So that would be based on, like I said, because T-Burke asked that, based on what the decision of the judge.
Do you think that's fair?
I think a lot of times what they'll look at is income. So say if mom wants dad to pay child support and they're getting joint custody of the kid, and during dad's petition in the hearing, he states, well, she doesn't have to worry about tuition because I pay the kid's tuition. And I'm also in charge of paying for any extracurriculum activities that the kid wants to do. The judge will take all that into consideration. So, yeah, she may be pushing for a certain amount, but the judge may not go with that because he has evidence of seeing what parent B is bringing to the table.
All right, so I just have a problem. I have to try to be the voice of the people in this aspect. If 50-50, right, that means that the kid is with me half the time and with you half the time. Why am I paying anything? Because if I have my house and you have your house, we only split a kid.
But that's what I'm saying. If the judge knows that he's going to grant you guys joint custody and the kid is with you half of the time and with her half of the time, and they see what you're doing and they see what her doing, what she's doing, he may not rule in for you to be placed on child support. I mean, just because she files for child support does not mean that that judge is going to grant that. We can't keep comparing our situations with everybody else's. Right. People tell you what they want you to know. Right, okay. They don't tell you, or she put me on child support and they taking $250 every 2 weeks from my check, but the judge also got a history, evidence of me going upside her head, me done bust the windows out, me standing up and didn't pick my kid up from school and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot that is taken in consideration before a judge makes a decision to sit there and put somebody on child support.
So you think that this 1501 Arch Street is fair? Like, you think that it's cut and dry straight down the middle?
Nothing is cut and straight down the middle. Nothing. Okay. But what I'll tell you is being prepared is as best as you can get.
What is my fault? Since we on child support, what does child support get you? Like, because if I'm paying child support, like, what rights do I have to my child? Because you're not gonna put me on child support and say I'm partial. Like, or I'm supervised visits and I'm paying child support.
Well, supervised visits is in an extreme case.
Okay, I'm just saying, in
like you getting high and something like that, and I want you to be supervised. 50-50,
if not more. That's just how I feel. If you're digging in my pockets, I want at least 50-50.
But that's where we get in at getting yourself an attorney. Or working with your worker.
More money.
No. Working with your workers. You have workers. No, you have workers. When you go into custody, they appoint a worker for each parent.
Now, these workers that you're talking about, how many cases do they get at one time?
Why would you ask me that?
Because, like,
I'm a case worker.
I mean... First of all, these.
I don't want to throw your boss under the table.
No, I'm just saying.
I don't work for DHS.
Listen, I'm just saying. Potholes ain't being fixed. There's so many schools getting closed. I know that
we ain't got no books.
I know they ain't spending more money on getting more caseworkers. So, what's the average caseload for a worker?
I'm just want to say this for all my social services people, okay? We are overworked and underpaid. Okay.
But everybody say that.
No,
Teachers say
that, Teachers are overworked and they are underpaid.
There's no shot. I do agree with both. Don't take it that way. I do.
But
agree.
What I'm saying is,
and I know social workers and definitely deserve a bigger check.
It's a lot when you're trying to manage different families who have different ones. Mm-hmm. So we have to take it in consideration. You'll be surprised how many families disrespect us and think that we're miracle workers, and we're not. Mm-hmm. We have lives too, and we stress also. But if you're passionate about something, you're going to work. I say all the time that when you come in this field, don't expect that you're going to work a 9 to 5. Sometimes that 9 to 5 turn into after 5 p.m. where I'm working on cases and I'm finding different resources to be like, oh, I got to do that tomorrow. I got to call such and such and give them that information. But if you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't matter. You going to grind and you going to do what you need to do for the best benefit of that family. But every family comes with a different situation.
The judge said that I want you, he's talking to me, I'm looking at him or her, and she says, I want you to pay $158 a week. All right?
You bring your pay stub.
All right. No, I'm just saying that's just what we, case adjourned, whatever, or court, whatever. What, like, how can I be, like, what do you have to do to show me that my money is being spent on my child? Like, cause basically, I think it's like a card that you get. The money come right out of my check. I don't even get to touch it.
I ain't got no babies, so I don't know.
So I mean, I know a lot of people that go around with them cards, and there's money that goes onto the card.
Your child support goes on the card.
So when you see him going around with the card, where you see him at?
I'm not gonna get into that. I'm just saying, like, if
you're not gonna call nobody out.
If you pay your money for something, you want to see what you're getting. You're gonna have a tangible book.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a receipt. But if I'm paying child support, I just gotta hope and wish that she gets what you're supposed to get. I don't want it. Listen, I don't want it. There's so many cases I'm hearing that people get child support. You get one dad who's there, who's paying child support. Then you get this lady who don't have a father for the rest of her kids, and she kind of taking that money and using it on them. So, am I supposed to pay for the kids that I don't that are not mine?
No, but that is something that you definitely want to bring up in your appeal.
Okay.
In your hearing. I want to say this: when you're at your court hearing and you do not agree what is being said with the judge, like the decision, you have 20 days from your court hearing to do an appeal.
Okay.
So, like, say if you don't agree with the amount, or you say to the judge, well, Your Honor, I don't mind paying $150 every 2 weeks, but I would like for like a track of receipts of where this money is going to, then that's fine. That is just something that you have to be willing to speak up about. But I want everybody to understand that people think that when a judge order, that's it for you. And it's not. You have options where you can appeal that decision.
I mean, I don't want no Meek Mill judge when I'm going in there who's going to be adamant that I'm going to pay this $158.
So what you telling me is you can't ask for receipts?
You can ask for receipts. Yeah. It's the same way you hold receipts and you board them. So you go back and you appeal your petition and you want a new hearing.
So you basically saying, I hope I never. So you basically saying, in all seriousness, be prepared, keep everything. Don't
document.
You know, don't make the situation worse. Don't antagonize the situation. You know, if she's saying some crazy stuff, document that. Say bless your heart and all that, and keep all that stuff imprinted. And bring it to court.
Right.
Don't be like if she say
one. Right. If this person is saying this and you like, oh well, I'm gonna kill you when I see you. You think that the judge is going? No, you gonna find yourself in domestic violence groups.
Case closed on this custody stuff. Now, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Exactly. Can you say it again and explain like what your job is or what your job entails on the day?
So I have like 2.5 jobs. All right, I'm like a true Jamaican.
Yeah,
wait, we got her here. 2.5.
Nah, homie.
Okay.
Nah. 2 degrees and I got a certification. I finished in 2 weeks.
I'm on your team.
All right.
Start whipping the hair back and forth.
So I have 2.5 jobs. All right. So my full-time job, I'm a opiate case manager for Philadelphia Drug Court. So what happens in this is you get caught selling drugs or copping, and it's your first offense, and you've been hit with a felony. You don't want to do the time. You don't want to take, you don't want to plea. So what ends up happening is you take the plea to go and you say, okay, well, wait, I have a substance issue. And so you plea into the program, and the program is a year long. What I do is I assist these individuals with getting into drug and alcohol treatment programs. I closely monitor them, and I'm basically the middleman between the client, the courts, and the treatment center. And so we all work together to get that client clean and sober or stop selling drugs. So I assist with employment. If I get a client who did not get a high school diploma, I assist with them with getting into different programs such as CCP. They do have a program if you're between ages of 16 and 21. You can get your high school diploma through them and college credits. So I assist with that. It's basically for me to deter away from moving in the direction of incarcerating people and not giving people a second chance. So say you completed your year in the program and you graduated. A year from your graduation date, as long as you stayed out of trouble and didn't get a new offense, your felony is expunged. Okay. And you can transfer more than one drug case into the court.
So is drug cases primarily on using drugs?
No, using drugs or selling. So when they get caught, it says manufacture, possession, intent to deliver.
But listen, so if I'm, or not me, but if you're selling drugs,
you may be smoking marijuana. So you go. First of all,
how are you going into a program for substance abuse?
Because you are addicted to selling drugs.
Oh, so you can be like addicted to selling. That's
We can be addicted to anything that we overly use.
I didn't know. But
yes,
but
the
initial
what
thought is
ends
like
up happening. Let me clarify this. What ends up happening is I'm selling drugs, but I'm also smoking marijuana a lot. I'm also popping perks. Okay, so I do this evaluation, and what ends up happening is we do this eval, psychosocial, and it asks us those type of questions. Do you smoke marijuana? Yes. How many blunts do you smoke a day? So we write that down. How many Percocets do you take? We write that down. And so that is how we determine the level of care that client needs.
Do y'all pull hair samples to prove it? Because I don't want to go to jail, so I'm getting high every day. I'm high right now.
So what ends up happening is when they come in the program, it is required that they have to submit random weekly urines. So if I get a client and I suspect that he or she's been using, I'll say, all right, well, here's your urine sheet. You need to go to the lab and drop the urine. If he or she refuses, then it's considered an instant positive urine.
Okay, so you're basically saying,
right,
I'm positive,
right. And so what ends up happening is the participants. When you hear me say participants, it's also clients. Mm-hmm. We try to stay away from clients and say participants to be respectful. The participants in the program, they go to court once a month in front of the judge. And so in court, I advocate and represent the participant. So I'll say, Your Honor, he attends treatment at such and such place. He missed 5 sessions, but he made them all up. Mm-hmm. All his urines are clean, and and they're all clean from all mood altering substances. And so, we'll applaud. We give out phases. There are 4 phases in the program. First phase is 30 days. The second one is 60. And then third and fourth are each 4 months apiece.
Now, what are these phases? Are these like certificates for patting you on
they
the back?
For your hard work.
Okay.
So if you've been clean and you've been doing what you're supposed to do, we move you into completion of that phase. And then in court, we applaud the participants and we give them certificates. And then when they graduate, they get these plaques that they get.
So after you are done the program, you guys are like your case is closed and you don't worry about them anymore. They can.
Well, I'm not going to say that I can't speak for other case managers that I work with, but for me, I always tell them to still contact me because I still believe that honestly, your sobriety still continues. Really, it really starts when you're off those papers. Because some people can walk a straight line because they know they're on paper.
Or they don't want to go to jail.
Right, exactly, right. And we sanction people. We sanction. So we'll make you write an essay. You have to serve in a jury box. So you got to sit in court with the judge all day. We have something called options, which is like a scare straight where you go to jail for the day. And other inmates in the prison to talk to you. We have...
Is that effective?
What, the scare straight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think for a person, I don't know what the statistics would that be, but I think for a person that don't want to return back to jail or it's their first time, I think it really scares them. Like I've had some participants that say to me, T, I ain't going to jail, because I can't do jail, T. And I'll be like, okay, well then we need to come up with some type of plan to keep you from doing that.
Do you have an age demographic? Or is it like 16 to 21?
So I want to point out that I am the opiate case manager for drug court. So that means that my whole caseload is opiate dependent. So I have Black, white, Puerto Rican. I don't have any Asian, and they range from young into old. What I am noticing, and the sad thing is that our Black and brown boys and girls are abusing opiates bad. The Percocets, the Xannies, and they're like, it's bad. And what you're starting to see is that they're starting to escalate to snorting heroin. You'll typically, most of my caseload IV users are typically my Caucasian caseload participants, but my Black and brown are pills and snorting.
So I mean, I know you get to talk to these people in intimate situations, but like, what are their reasons? If you ask them or have ever asked, like, what are their reasons for starting it? What happened? Because is it something tragic that happened, or they just seen their uncle do it or mom do it and they just start doing it?
Yeah. So for many of them, they, I go to the dentist because I got a toothache and the doctor prescribes me Percocet, or I got my wisdom teeth taken out and the doctor prescribed me Perks. My dentist didn't. They always prescribe me Tylenol, but, get Perks. Yeah. And I'm liking the feeling. And so now it's escalating. For some, it's chronic pain. They were prescribed it. Others, it's because everybody else is doing it. You know, I've had some that have, you know, sipped on syrup. You know, we know what that is. It's the same effect. But I try to explain to people that, you know, they have this stigma, like our black and brown be having this stigma like heroin. I ain't gonna be doing no heroin. I'll be like, yo, it's the same thing. You're a hop, jump, skip from either snorting it or being an IV user. You know,
so this program. Sorry to cut you off. This program. So can this affect to take it back to a custody situation? Like, say
I'm glad you asked me that.
Say, like, you know, you get caught in this situation and you know what I mean, and you got kids or whatever,
right.
But you know, you still, what you do over here don't affect them per se. Like, they don't know what you know got going on, but
I always it does.
It affects them.
I tell people that all the time. A lot of people tell me, well, you know, I control my addiction. And I tell people all the time that no, you don't. Because you may be in control of your surroundings right now, but eventually it will become unmanageable. So as far as the custody situation, yes, it can have an effect. Now, this is the thing. We have a unit, which was the unit I worked in at Family Court. It's called a clinical evaluation unit. And what happens is if mom mentions dad is popping perks and things like that, the judge will take that in consideration and he'll ask for urine. Say if the urine comes back and it is positive for opiates. Well, the judge will then order that father or mother to the clinical evaluation unit. And what happens is they get a psychoeducation, a psychosocial evaluation. And there we'll figure out what their level of care is. If we feel like that person needs to go into drug and alcohol treatment, we'll refer them. Okay, and then we'll monitor them. So the judge may say, okay, by the next court hearing, I want them to come down 4 times and give me 4 random urines. And so he'll monitor that. But it doesn't also take the decision of him giving full custody to one parent. They're going to give that other parent a chance to get themselves together. That's what I'm saying. We have programs that are out here so that we could deter from always incarcerating somebody or just stripping, you know, this kid from that home. We give people plenty of chances to get themselves together. Parenting classes, anger management classes, domestic violence classes, support groups.
It's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
It is. I think in our community, the resources are there. It's just people don't know that they're there. And so I make it my business every day to make my clients understand that I'm going to support them and I'm going to make sure these resources are available to you. And if I don't have an answer to your question, best believe by the next time we see each other, I'm going to have it.
So if you want to get a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi, it's advertisements all over the place. Why is money so scarce as far as putting, you know, I should see a billboard. For me, I should see a billboard. Opiate abuse. Come here. It's like it seems like you gotta search so far. I can get more perks running down the street looking for information to help me than I can the actual information.
Yeah, I think that it's also a business to a lot of things too. You know, they're there. Don't get it twisted. People know these drug and alcohol programs because you'll get people that have been to almost every program we have in the city. You know, they're there. Could they do better with putting money into more advertisement for recovery? Yes. But we also need to put more money into recovery, period. You know, I'm going through situations now where it's very hard to get insurance to pay for people to even go into rehab and detox facilities. For recovery houses and things like that, you know, because when the weather gets cold, a lot of the homeless go into a lot of these recovery houses. So we're stuck with no beds. So I think the lack of having, you know, the extra recovery houses and the extra rehab facilities available and accessible to us is one problem. But then we have the other problem where trying to get insurance to pay for it because people can't afford to go to Pasadena and Miami, Florida. not my people in my neighborhood that I grew up with. They can't.
So it's kind of a 2-part question. I got a question for you, and I got a second part my man Chad.
I
So,
appreciate it. It seemed
little
like you
scenario.
pulled
Say you
information.
do have one of these situations where you get caught with selling drugs and you do get locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you: is there like a court order? And you do have kids, because of course all our conversations are our whole basis kids. Is there like a court order or any type of way to get the other parent to make them your child come see you while you're locked up? And then for you, Chad, how do you feel about the whole situation of visiting your kids visiting, or not
If
yours,
visit the parent in
jail?
prison?
Yeah.
That I don't know the answer to. Like, if a judge can order the mom to take the kid down. I will say that that's a decision and a conversation that both parties need to have.
Okay.
My dad was in prison and my mom took me to see him. So that was just a decision that she made.
My fault, but real quick. All right. Say I do get locked up tomorrow, and I'm not getting a sentence. Can the mother of my child go get full custody while
You're incarcerated?
Yes.
They can file, but the judge will also find out that you're incarcerated, mm-hmm. and so they will possibly do an investigation. I've never had a situation like that, so I really can't give my expertise on that. But I'm sure that they would need still to contact you in some way.
Yeah. Okay. Look, now we get to Chad get to open up.
So can you ask me the question again? Because I gotta try to think about it.
Well, pretty much, what are your thoughts about children visiting
a parent in jail?
All right, because it was a situation I posted on my Twitter earlier. Some thoughts on custody. So one of my followers hit me back and was like, she was watching a show where, the husband was locked up in one state and the mother was in another, and she just pretty much was just all out. I'm not bringing the child to come visit you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that situation? What would you do? What would you want to see? Like,
I mean, I'm not an expert either, but
this is just an opinion.
Right. Yeah, for my opinion, it's three things. Like, I know people who don't want their kids to come see them at all. Mm-hmm. They don't want their kids to see them like that. Daddy's away. Daddy's
how
working.
How long that process is?
Yeah, no.
Daddy's away. Daddy doesn't. Daddy don't want you to see him like that. Then you got some cases where dad wants to see the kid, and then the mom doesn't want to bring him up here. It's not feasible or whatever. And then you have some who bring them up there and they do good. I don't really know the statistics of if a kid comes up to the prison, how that helps them. Because after a while, a kid's like, my dad's in jail. There's nothing he can do to me. There's nothing he can say to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it depends on the parent. I mean, the actual parent. If he wants to see his kid, you should take him. As long as he ain't like no pedophile or he ain't doing nothing like that. And sometimes a lot of parents, from experience, they don't want to take the kid over there because they have moved on with a new guy, and sometimes the new guy feels some type of way about you going up there to see the,
But that's where it gets as to have that conversation. You get what I'm saying? I don't believe that you should get in a relationship with anybody and they're dictating on what you and your child or your mother of your child, father of your child, mother of your child, what decision y'all make for y'all kid.
Right.
I do.
But nobody wanted to mess that up. Like, if you got a good dude here and he's adamant that he hates it, you don't want to mess that up.
But you know what the situation is when you're going into it. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? So we all have a choice whether or not we want to pick and choose if we're going to stay in that situation. Right. You see what I'm saying? I don't have any kids, so I can pick and choose whether or not I want to deal with someone who has children or not. Mm-hmm. I have that choice. Mm-hmm. So you're coming into this situation, you're looking in, and you see that dad's in jail. The kid is primary with her. She's been taking him every month to go see his father. If you can't handle that as a man, then you need to remove yourself from that situation. I do believe that some moms may not be able to go to the prison as much because it's a long process. Mm-hmm. I've done it. Mm-hmm. Long waits. If she doesn't drive, she's catching a long bus ride to get there. Mm-hmm. And then we got to wait until we check in. We're being searched. Yeah. That could be traumatizing for a kid who's never experienced that. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then I got to sit and I got to wait. And I can't bring nothing in. And if you got piercings, we got to take them out. It's long. And then daddy comes and I get this 30-minute or to an hour visit with him. And then it's done. And prison is loud. Everything's loud in the waiting area. You can hear the chains and the door and the cells closing. I mean, a mom may not want to put their kid through that. And that's why a lot of times dads don't want, or parent, period.
But isn't everything about the best interest of the kid?
Right, but you also have to make that decision. If I feel like that's going to be traumatizing to the kid of this long wait and this long bus ride for 30 minutes, I'd rather just have the kid write me and talk to me on the phone.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's a lot when it comes to visiting a loved one. I mean, state road is a little bit different than when you go upstate.
Yeah.
You know? So, or what if you can't have contact? Now, this kid don't understand that I can't touch daddy or I can't touch mommy because it's a glass. And I've been in the room with, in the private room with the glass, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this, so it all depends. It's a conversation that you have to have.
I don't deal with drug abuse. I don't deal with like custody issues. So I like to hear stories about things that I don't have any idea of, or things that actually go on. Because I'm like, this really happens? So is there any stories you can tell us that's not too personal that you've seen that could made you sad, could have broke your heart? There's some bad living situations with kids with drug abuse or anything like that?
Yeah, so I can tell you a situation where it's a little success story with custody. So I had a situation where mom and dad both were abusing drugs. And dad got himself clean and sober, and the child went to live with him. And I assisted mom with getting clean and sober. She had over a year of sobriety. And so we petitioned the courts because dad was taking her to custody. He wanted her to pay child support. So, of course, I let her know off the bat, well, we can draw up a petition and, we can, fight this and do a hearing. So that's what we did. The thing was, mom did not want to take the son from the household. She wanted him to still stay with dad, but she wanted visitation. So she wanted maybe sometimes to be able to see him, for him to sometimes spend a night, because she had another child. And so she wanted, both the siblings to see each other. So dad, of course, already assumes that she wants to physically take him from the home. And I had to stress that in court, like, that's not what she wants. Because this kid has been living with you all this time, and you all he knows. This house is all he knows. So the judge listened to all her evidence. She took in consideration of her urine results, her certificates of her completing treatment. She completed a parenting class. So she looked at all of that. And so what ended up happening was, month by month, her court petition changed. So that first month, she was able to see him every other Friday. And then the judge gave her a time. And she had to bring him back at that time. And then they had to also agree, like, are we going to have a meeting spot for pickup and drop off, which they did agree.
Is that like police stations?
No. It could be like, hey, that Walmart on, Roosevelt Boulevard is the middle, spot between my house and your house. We can meet there to do drop off and pickups. And so it was like that situation. And the following month, it went from Friday and Saturday. And then the following month, it went the whole weekend, but every other weekend. And then the following month, it was overnight visits.
Okay.
And so she was able to, get it. And, the hardest thing about that is when you made mistakes in your life is for the kid to get to know you all over again. And a lot of times I get asked that question, like, my clients call me Miss T, and it'd be like, well, Miss T, like, but I'm his mother. I'm his father. Like, he's supposed to know me. And I have to explain that to them, like, you've been absent all this time. So this kid has to get to know you all over again. And you have to learn and get to know this kid. Because you have no idea. You've missed all this time from this kid's life. You don't know if he's allergic to anything, what he like, what he don't like, what's his favorite food. So you have to get to know this kid, just like this kid has to get to know you. And they have to feel comfortable. And I'm always stressing to people, do not force the situation. Let it be natural and let it be genuine. The kid loosen up, So there was a question like, dad was in jail and should mom let her daughter go and see him? You should. But be careful that you can't force a supervised visit. That's only done by a judge. But allow her to. See how it feels with him coming over to your house to see the kid. And then when she gets a little open up, then we'll do it where you could take her maybe to the, go get ice cream. And then you can move it up where y'all longer, movies. And then escalate it to where overnight visits. And don't be afraid to say to your kid's mother or kid's father, like, well, I would like to come to your home to see what it looks like. Because my kid is going to be there. I want to see who's going to be around my kid. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people take that to the whole extreme, like you just want to be in my business. No, because at the end of the day, if this kid prominently lived with me, if anything happens to this kid, I'm responsible.
Well, there's so many different emotions that are like intertwined. What we used to be in a relationship, we used to love each other at one point, and then I'm his parent too. But then it's like, why do I have to give you this? Or, your pride gets in the middle. I shouldn't have to give you this information or whatever.
And that's why we have to remove our feelings and our emotions from the situation. Is that? It's very, very hard because women, we are very emotional creatures. We are.
Agreed.
But you have to shut up. We have to remove our feelings and things like that. We have to stop taking everything. And I'm not just saying women, but women and men. We have to stop taking everything so personal. I don't want that dude around my son, or I don't want that girl around my child.
So you're saying that's basically not in the best interest of the kid.
No,
it's really just
not.
Their personal preference.
It's not, because you're making that kid feel like they gotta choose between their parent, and no kid wants that. Right. I lived in a household with both, with dad in one house and my mom in another house. I never experienced that. I can count on my hand maybe one time or maybe twice of my parents arguing about something, but it had nothing to do with me. Right. Like maybe dad stood me up and didn't come and pick me up, and I was waiting on the step, and my mom snapped about it. But she never badmouthed my father in front of me. And that's another thing we gotta stop doing. We gotta stop badmouthing parents in front of these kids, because it can have it has a negative effect on them. My mom never said anything bad about my dad. I don't care how many times he stood me up. She ain't never said nothing bad about my father.
So as far as these drugs though, like what is a story about, like, that you hear about, like, because drugs, I can only imagine how it can take over a person's mind, so they're still from their own self. So, like, can you give us an example of, like, something that you've seen or heard from one of the cases?
Well, I deal with opiates, so I have a story almost every week. But just like them overdosing and, having to be administered Narcan, which is a medication that Narcan is a medication that we administer to reverse the overdose. And you got to be careful when you administer it, because the person goes in instant withdrawal. So they could be angry. I could have spent my last $5 and you done took it all out.
You didn't blow my heart.
Right. So you have to be careful when you're administering.
It's like an EpiPen for it.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like an EpiPen. So EpiPen. So you have to be mindful for that. But I've had cases where individuals have almost died, and 1 can of Narcan didn't help, 2 cans didn't help, 3 cans didn't help, 4 cans didn't help. And this person almost is on death, and then you look again, and then the following week after they recover, they're back using again. And you be like, yo, you almost died, and I believe, I didn't live through the crack epidemic, but I believe the opiate epidemic is bad. You could just get in your car and take a drive down Kensington, and 3rd and Front Street and see it, and it's bad. You could be on a bus and people just, droop in and stuff like that. It's really, really, really bad.
So if somebody just passed out right in front of me, eyes rolled to the back of their head, foaming out the mouth, what could I do in that situation? Just call the cops?
Well, you wanna be certified in CPR and first aid, but if you have Narcan, because there are families now.
No, I'm just saying a regular dude. I'm just walking down the street. I see
you wanna stay with the individual. You wanna don't touch them, because you don't know if they're injured or anything like that if you're not trained in that. But yes, you definitely wanna you definitely wanna contact the authorities as soon as possible, and you wanna stay with the person. My thing is, I always tell people, like, this generation is so quick of pulling their phones out and recording everything, and you be looking at these videos and you be like, well, did anybody call 911? I just had this conversation with my girls group that I counsel on Tuesday nights. But, call the police. Like, it's not snitching or anything like that. What if one of your loved one is battling addiction secretly and that happened to them, you would want somebody to do all that they could to save that person's life.
I agree.
You know, so. And I mean, if you're trained and you have Narcan, administer the Narcan. So if they stop breathing,
I can just go to Walmart and just give me some Narcan.
No. You can purchase Narcan through your insurance at the local pharmacy. I do think that there's been certain programs. No. There's been certain programs that have set up where you can get Narcan for free. But paramedics have them, firefighters, police officers, they're now carrying it because of the epidemic that we have in our city.
Crazy.
So do you, are you in charge of like sending people to like 907 North Broad, where it's like they're on heroin, but they take this, what is this stuff called? I forget what it's
Methadone?
Yeah, they take methadone.
Okay, so part of my job. Part of my job. All right, time to explain all that. So part of my job is I'm MAT. So MAT stands for medically assisted treatment. And what medically assisted treatment is methadone, which is like the oldest one. It's like cough syrup. You drink that, and we have Suboxone, which can come in strips. It can come in pills. And then we have the newest thing, which is my favorite, is Vivitrol, which is the shot that you get in the butt muscle once a month. To me, Vivitrol would be my top choice, because Suboxone, you'll get a prescription. And we can sell Suboxone on the street. So you'll see, I've done had some of my clients buy Suboxone off the street. And I'm like, dog, you're not prescribed this. Where you get this from? I know you bought it off the street. So you could buy it off the street. Methadone is a little bit harder because you have to go to a methadone clinic. The thing about methadone is you have to go to methadone clinic every day. Yeah. Vivitrol, you get to see the doctor once a month and you get the injection in your butt.
So if you got the Vivitrol, whatever that's called, in your system, and then you go get high.
You're going to experience the most withdrawal in life. Like, I done had people come out front and back because of the effects. Because the purpose of Vivitrol is to reverse the opiate receptors in our brain.
You just got me scared to get high. Like,
so I service a methadone clinic, and I'm there twice a month. And you have people that are out there at 6 a.m. It's never closed. It's always open, even on holidays. So you have these people that are taking this medicine every day that's supposed to counteract the urge for heroin or whatever.
Yes.
But it never, like, these people are coming there for years. It never like takes them off of it.
So that's why I don't like methadone, because for a lot of people,
it's like worse than dialysis.
You can you can be on methadone for a very long time. So that's why methadone is my least favorite. I think as a treatment team, you have to come together and start to really reevaluate a client's case. So we need to look at, well, he's been on this certain amount of milligrams for all these years, and doctors should start to decrease. I have some clients that are on methadone and they're being decreased monthly with their doctor, under their doctor's care. But you have to be under the doctor's care. Don't try to do it on your own, because you can really, severely hurt yourself.
But what's the end game? So let's say you at 500 milligrams.
We'll wean you off until you're at 0. And where the purpose of weaning you is to see how you react to, you went from 100 milligrams to now 80 milligrams. And it's make sure that my urges don't arise. Okay, now they're not. So now I'm going to decrease you a little bit more. Okay, no, and then we're going to decrease you more. So to where you can live life without it.
I think you kind of just answered my question, but so when you taking this drug or whatever, it's to help the urges, or is it just to
because you have
negative effect once you do it?
No. Methadone is to
be proactive,
right? Exactly, with
and
your
it also
urges.
has a reactive effect.
Because so you're saying that this drug is like so addictive that it takes, like, is it impossible just to say I ain't doing it no more, or are people scared of the withdrawal?
You can do that, but I would not recommend it.
Oh yeah, so you don't recommend?
Yeah, I've had clients that was like, "Yo, I'm not doing this no more," and stop. And then they're shooting up by the end of the week. So I wouldn't recommend it. I will always seek a physician care, under a physician care.
So why are people still taking methadone? I know that's the oldest one, but why they're not like prescribing Vivitrol? Is that like way more expensive, or?
I'm not sure about the difference of what insurance of how much each drug costs, but I think when people they get comfortable, and when I'm comfortable and I ain't got to do nothing, and I'm so used to seeing YouTube every day of the week, what's the point of changing? I believe that people are afraid of change, and because they're afraid of change because you're afraid of the unknown. I don't know what it feels like to not be dependent on anything. So I'm afraid to go on that other side. So I'd rather stay content being here.
So, what was my question? It was about this methadone. I forgot it. That fast.
So you pretty much just recommend people to be weaned off of drugs instead of going cold turkey because it's
because you could be dangerous. You ever hear stories like of alcohol addiction and then they go cold turkey and then their heart goes out on them and they're dead?
Oh, so pretty much because your body is used to this, like it needs it.
So what ends up happening is
so
our
it's not really
bodies.
a mental thing; it's also a physical thing.
Oh yeah,
well.
definitely. Because you got to understand, if you've been abusing drugs for so long, your body is accustomed to this now. So now we have to reprogram and retrain your body to live and operate without these drugs anymore. And for a lot of people, that's why you see some people that were like, yo, he been clean for 4 months and then he relapsed and he died. That's why.
Yeah, you're playing with your body.
Yeah.
So this is my question. The insurance, I'm not putting it like if you on heroin, you're homeless. So if you don't have insurance, how do you get funding to get
good question?
Methadone?
So you can walk into any drug and alcohol program, and they have staff that's on site that deals with specifically insurance. And they'll assist you with that. There are also programs here that will assist you with getting identification. There are programs that will give you half of the money for identification, and if you only got the other half, you can get it. They're out there. We have programs that'll help you get your Social Security card. They are now starting to set up where, there are assistance for you to get SSI and SSD and things like that too. They're there. Once again, it's just that this stuff is not advertised, and a lot of people don't know that these resources are out there for them.
So before we wrap up, I know it was some things about sexual abuse, physical abuse. Like if you're experiencing any of these, is it like a 1-900 or 1-800 number that you have to give to people, or is it different things?
So there's different things. So like
teen pregnancies and all that type of stuff.
Oh man, these different aspects.
Yeah.
Different
I'm just saying. I just want to, because I know we about to close
so,
out. I want to make sure we got enough
for women
information
who
for
have
people.
experienced any type of abuse, domestic, physical, or domestic violence, whether it was sexual or physical, abuse, you can go to Women Against Abuse, which is WAR. They are located on 100 South Broad Street, so you can contact them and they'll be assistant to you. For men that are looking for parenting classes, anger management, and may have been ordered, to go to like a domestic violence support group. There's a program called the Men's Resources Center, and that is located at 1601 Walnut Street, and they serve not just men but women too. They host different groups. And there are parent support groups too. There are also parent support groups for parents who have lost temporary custody or full custody of their children. So you can contact any of those programs.
First off, I want to say this is important because you are the first guest that we've had on the show. So I thank you so much for coming by.
First guest ever.
Ever.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's saying much.
Ever.
First guest ever.
Thank you.
Hopefully, in time, when this episode drops, we'll get more questions, and maybe we can have you come back in a couple months or something.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And if people want to email me personally for case by case situations, they're welcome to email me any questions, and if I don't have the the answers to it, I can direct them to someone who could be to service for them.
And what is your email?
It's Tiara, Tiara, my middle initial L.Johnson, JOHNSON 89 @gmail.com.
That was long.
I didn't want to give him my court emails.
No.
Oh, so this is your personal email?
That's my personal email.
That says a lot about you.
That's my personal email. So if you have drug and alcohol issues and things like that, and you just need somebody to talk to, or you don't know which way to go, you can give me a call. I've been in drug and alcohol and mental health with adults for the last 6 years. So
is it a lot of pressure being in your position?
Yes.
I mean,
because
can you go out on the town and be on Instagram, or is it like certain areas?
I'm cautious of the things that I do because at the end of the day, I feel like you don't know who's watching. Yeah. And I don't never want to, influence somebody in the wrong way. Like, I also teach anger management groups to adolescent girls. Mm-hmm. So they look up to me like a role model. So I'm always conscious of what I'm doing out here.
We gotta bring you back to talk about that, because I want to know why these little girls 10 to 16 are so angry, like why they disrespectful. I want to know all that stuff. Yeah, so it's crazy. Like, even when I was growing up, we was crazy, but we had certain respect.
We had respect.
Yeah,
it's funny. I just did a group last Tuesday night on respect. So, I feel like I'm making an influence and a difference in them. But, it's not easy. I think the hardest part for me, for my job, is when you get cases where they overdose or they relapse. And then I get that guilt, like, what could I have done differently? Or, did I fail them in some form of way? So, every day I try to make a difference in somebody's life every day that God, wakes me up. So,
could it be scary? This is the last question before we get out of here. Could it be scary to do this for 20 to 30 years and become numb because you heard it all and seen it all?
I say, to be in this field, you should have some type of empathy, and it will be hard to be in this field not to care. Mm-hmm. I had a case where, there's been kids that I want to take home with me, and there's been, clients now that I'm like that, that big sister or little sister to them. But I know I'm not going to be able to save everybody. Mm-hmm. But it's important to also practice self-care when you're in this field. So I go to my own personal therapist every bi-weekly, and I let that out. And
so we gotta talk about therapy. And we didn't even get into mental health.
Yeah,
and
it's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah, that's real in the black community. But like we said in the first, like, it's just something that gets kind of swept under the rug. It's like, and
So remember the lady last week that went up to the 57th floor of a penthouse and jumped off the building in New York with her 7-year-old son?
I seen that.
They blamed that on mental health. Mental health.
Yeah. A lot of people
that has something to do with it, because
a lot of people that abuse drugs, also have some form of mental health issue, but they don't know how to cope with it, so they use the drugs to mend it.
So you feel like it's a high correlation between those two?
Oh, both, definitely. I definitely would think that.
Thank you so much, Tiara Johnson, for coming through.
No problem, guys. Thank you for having me.
Absent Dad Podcast appreciates you.
Thank you.
And sharing your information and your knowledge with us and everybody else. I learned a lot. I hope everybody else learned a lot. I know Chad learned a lot.
I learned a whole lot. Yeah, so I got so much. And I know after I watched them, I'm like, dang, why didn't I answer this? Why didn't this? Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll keep my questions and stuff and have them for you next time.
All right.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Absent Dad Podcast.
The Absent Dad Podcast with T-Bark and Blackie Chad. Serving the realness, don't make them mad. Nah, say how you feel. Communicate freely, that's how you build. Word.